What's the worst thing your boyfriend/girlfriend has done to you? I was 15. This was about 10 years ago. I had a girlfriend, let's call her Sophie, and it was my best friend's 16th birthday party. Let's call him Tim. The party was amazing, about 50 people, tons of beer, a hot tub, people dancing everywhere, chicks in bikinis. It was great. For the first couple of hours I drank a little, and was in the hot tub with Sophie, talking to her, kissing her, hugging her. We had been together for about 2 to 3 years, something like that. Anyway, she always said she wanted to try whiskey, and I remembered that my parents had some at my house. A bottle of Jack Daniels. As I was slightly tipsy, I thought it was a good idea to get it, so I set off. When I got there, I received a text from Sophie asking me how long I was going to be. I told her about half an hour. After sending the text, I realized I could get there in about 5 minutes if I used my bike. So I did. When I arrived at the party, it was apparent that Sophie was not in the hot tub. So I searched the place. I found Tim and Sophie having sex in Tim's bedroom. I was horrified. I loved this girl so much. I dropped the whiskey, walked out, and proceeded to cry my eyes out on the stairs. My other friend, let's call him James, comes over and asks me what's wrong. I told him what had happened, and he raced up the stairs. The next thing I see is James punching Tim in the face, punching him in the balls, Tim still in his boxers, and pushing him down the stairs. James then gets everyone's attention and tells them what Tim and Sophie has done. Tim and Sophie were made outcasts at my school, and James is now my best friend. Dumped me the day my mom died. Called me a crybaby and made fun of me to all my friends. Care to elaborate? That's pretty much what happened. My mom died. When I found out, I started crying. My girlfriend at the time asked me why I was crying. I told her. She called me a crybaby and told me she couldn't be with a pussy like me. Then made fun of me to my friends for the next few months. Made me get an abortion, which he refused to help me pay for, 2 days after my birthday. 2 days later, he dumped me, in the middle of a 3-hour car ride, in front of my parents, while I was still bleeding from the procedure. At least you don't have a child with this douche? I'm trying to find optimism in this thread. I actually found out later, via the clinic, that the pregnancy had been molar, meaning it would never have resulted in a live birth anyways. Silver lining? The counselor said it was the first one she'd seen in 13 years. It could have been super dangerous for me had I not gotten the procedure, so I guess everything works out in the end. Can't believe I'm confessing all this on the internet, haha. No one in my life knows, aside from my ex. Feels kinda good to get it off my chest. Okay, you wanna hear crazy? It all started out on one lovely May afternoon. I was at work. My girlfriend texts me. She wants me to help her clean her ferret cage so she can give the ferrets to her friend. I agreed to help her, like any loving boyfriend would. I get off of work, I shower and clean up. I go to her house. I go inside. She begins yelling at me for being my usual 1 minute late. She then tells me that she is too sick to clean the cage, and I'll have to do it alone. No big deal. I go down in her basement and clean the nasty cage, clean my mess up, give them baths and get them ready to go. I'm now finished with my chore. I walk into her room. I had been texting a guy friend of mine, I'm a guy, who lives roughly 35 minutes away. He wanted to hang out later in the evening. She worked at 8 p.m., so I let her know at 8 I would be going to hang out with my friend. This is where it went bad. She gets instantly furious. She starts throwing shit around her room. She jumps up, pushes me on her bed. My car keys fall out of my pocket. She snatches them up, and quickly hides them where I'm unable to find them. She bites me on the back, leg, shoulder, and arm. She begins ripping my already thinning hair out. She then chokes me. I'm trying to find my keys. I call the police. She throws my phone and it breaks the screen. I give up and put her arm behind her back. I held it there until the police arrived. I was arrested for domestic battery. She went to the hospital claiming her arm was broken. It wasn't. Oh, and I found out the next day she had sex with my best friend and his girlfriend. Bitches be crazy. All my charges were dropped and I didn't have to go to court, but spending a night in jail changed me forever. This is going to sound horribly sexist and fucked up, but it's true. I went through a similar situation. If you're a guy and you lay a hand on a girl, I held this girl's arms behind her back because she was trying to down a bottle of atenolol. A med that lowers your heart rate. You will go to jail, and you will be charged with partner family member assault. It does not matter what the situation is or what your intentions are. I had been dating this guy for about 4 months. We went out for dinner one evening, his treat. I was really starting to fall for him by this point. So we're at dinner, and he goes to the washroom. He's gone for a really long time, and I check my phone. Text message from him, "Bye. Just left me, with both our meals which I had to pay for." He drove, and so I had to take a taxi home. Don't know what happened to make him leave, but probably for the best. After 4 months of dating? What a fact. I could see a-holes doing this on the first date and stuff, but after 4 months. When I was a freshman in high school, I got my first boyfriend. He was a year older, and seemed like a cool guy with similar interests. Within the first month, we went to see The Rundown. The date started out pretty normal, and we were the only people in the theater. He started trying to mess around, which was something my prude 14-year-old self wouldn't allow. During the scene in which a monkey jumps on the rock's face, he decided that he wanted to have sex. In the theater. I punched him hard enough and often enough that he gave up. Wisely, I didn't say bye after that. Later in the weekend, we were at his father's house for his band practice. He said he'd like to go into the sauna with me. I should go in and wait. He was just finishing up. After a few minutes, I wondered where he was and decided to check. He had barricaded the door so I couldn't get out and informed me that it was punishment for what happened at the movies. It seemed like forever of me complaining that I was thirsty and my head hurt until he let me out, and I ended up passing out on the floor of his basement. Gigantic red flag number 2 was still not enough to make me GTFO. I told him that the things he did to me weren't right and he promised to change. When he didn't and I tried to break up with him, he threatened suicide. After that, he became more violent. He threw a brick at me once. I dumped him then. He ended up in the hospital because he attempted suicide. I went back. He didn't change his violent habits, and I finally decided that I didn't care if he lived or died after he beat me with one of those metal folding chairs people use for parties. He tried to kill himself 3 more times and ended up in the psych ward. For months after he got out, he continued to call me. For the rest of high school, and until I moved away, I made it my personal mission to tell every girl he dated that he was an abusive a-hole who no human being should ever willingly endure. 3 of them came to me after with pretty horrible stories, and thanked me for warning them so they got out before things got as insane as they did for me. I'm posting this for my fiancé, about me. The other night, I was sick with the flu. I also ate something that had upset my stomach, on top of the flu, because I'm an idiot. We went to pick up some medicine for me, and on the way home, I told him to floor it because I needed to throw up and have explosive diarrhea at the same time. Oh, did I mention that we were visiting his parents at the time? It was splendid. By the time we got to his parents' house, I was exploding from both ends. I sprinted to his bathroom and decided to take care of the poop first. Well, after taking the shit of a lifetime, I clogged the toilet. Panicking, I grabbed the plunger and tried to unclog the unholy discharge of my bowels. As this is happening, I'm gagging. The toilet water stopped flowing when it reached the top, and because I wasn't enough of an idiot already, I thought to myself, "Herder, let's try to flush the toilet now." So I flushed. Again. The water began flowing over the rim of the bowl. My soft, squishy poop was plopping over onto the floor. At this point, I'm freaking out. By freaking out, I mean my brain has stopped working and I'm laughing like a hyena because the only other option is to cry. Now my fiancé is worried because he thought I was throwing up so violently, it sounded like laughter. He knocked on the locked door. "Bacon Blossom, are you okay? Honey? I need your advice through the locked door. What happened? Just let me in." No. After much arguing, I opened the door. He looks at me standing in an inch of poopy water holding a plunger. He then looks at the bathroom floor with my little poop nuggets clinging happily to every surface. His mouth just dropped open. It was then I started bawling. "Let me wake up my mom. I can't find a mop." He struggled between his own gags. "If you love me, you will tell her it's your poop." "What?" "I swear to God, if you want to marry me, you will take the blame for this and tell her it's your poop." Needless to say, I don't do well under pressure. He ended up getting some towels and cleaning up my poop off the floor while I threw up in the sink, sobbing, 2 feet next to him. So I'm pretty sure this is the worst thing any girl has ever done to him. I'm also pretty sure that if he can clean up my poop off the ground and still want to sleep next to me, he's a keeper. Edit. Oh good lord, this awful story would get a ton of upvotes. This morning when he woke up, our conversation was me. So don't be mad. But do you remember that time I destroyed your bathroom and freaked out? Yeah. Well, I might have posted it on Reddit, and they might have loved it. Oh lord. Well, at least you weren't waking me up to tell me you pooped again. I love you, dear. Marry him right now. I got married when I was 19. Things weren't great. I went back to school, meaning I was in bed by 9 to get up at 4 a.m. to travel hours to school. We were seeing a lot of each other, as he normally worked until midnight. He was working, paying the bills, while I worked to get a better job. One day the bank called me saying they were gonna charge me fraud because I'd used my debit card, inserting paper as a check and taking out cash. It was my husband. I knew something was up. Couple months later I found out he was smoking crack. I searched the app and found spoons, lighters, baggies, etc. I asked him and he admitted everything. He was smoking crack every night while I slept. Nothing had been paid and we were basically fucked. An ex of mine cheated on me, in the bathroom down the hall from my bedroom on New Year's Eve. 2 weeks later, I find out that she has hidden the fact that she had a child, that a friend was raising, for over 9 months. I'm just glad that I dodged that bullet of crazy. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.